Boyd Matheson divides rage from reason on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today. As always, we're broadcasting live today from Utah Valley University, the Utah Valley Growth and Prosperity Summit. We've had just an amazing first hour down here. We're going to talk to somebody who has a little bit of history here in Utah Valley, knows a little thing about growth and opportunity as it relates not just to Utah Valley, but to the state and the nation. Former governor of the state of Utah, Gary Herbert, joins us. And, Gov, it's always great to see you, especially here on campus, Herbert Institute, Public Policy. Great to have you with us today.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here, and good to have you on campus again, Boyd. And you just triggered my memory. I'm old enough to remember when it was just a trade tech here. And it was a valuable institution then, but it was just mostly the trades.
Yeah.
There might be, 3,000, 4,000 students here. Today it's 44,600.
Isn't that amazing?
Which reflects the growth
Yeah.
that's taking place here, not only in Utah County, but throughout the state. And, of course, we've had great prosperity. And that drives growth.
Yeah.
So what do you do about that? That's what this summit's about.
Yeah, and it's always an interesting challenge. Sometimes it's easy when things are just kind of rocking along and it's kind of status quo, but Utah Valley is anything but status quo, one of the fastest growing places in the nation. You've been able to be part of this summit for the last 3 years and some of the predecessors to it that came before. But give us your perspective from your unique perch and experience from having served here locally, start of your political career to managing the state as the governor. What is it that we should be thinking about and talking about at events like this?
Well, my crystal ball is probably as foggy as anybody's, but as I look back,
always clearer from the rear view.
It is, and you see what's happening. We can anticipate similar things probably in the future. I mentioned the trade tech was small.
Yeah,
it had a very valuable purpose, but now we have a lot more students coming. I remember as a county commissioner, I came here in the early 1991-2, right in there, and said this junior college, which was a 2-year institution, expanding their educational opportunities, now needs to have 4-year degrees. My gosh, that was revolutionary. What? We had some of the other presidents, one from the University of Utah said, well, if we give more money down here to you guys, we'll have less money for us. And so they were not too happy about that. But they did approve 4-year degrees. And this community college started to blossom then, and 16 years later became a full-blown university. Well, that's reflective of the growth that's taking place. And you're right when you say Utah County, one of the fastest-growing places in the nation. It's the fastest-growing place of the fastest-growing state in the nation.
Yeah.
So Utah County really has developed and blossomed, and that growth is going to continue, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So the question is, what do we need to do to accommodate it?
Yeah.
To provide for it. That's mostly our own kids, grandkids that stay here.
Yeah.
We want them to be able to stay. The operative word is choice. If you choose to stay, not that you can't stay because there's no jobs available.
Right.
So part of what we need to anticipate is what can we do to continue to have job growth creation.
Yeah.
We know that growth impacts everything in our lives, whether it's the environment, transportation, congestion on the roads, health care, affordable housing.
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on and on. There's not anything that's not impacted by growth in some way, and that's going to happen. So this Growth and Prosperity Summit is designed to help us inform the community, and hopefully the policymakers can then make informed decisions, which will make sure we have a bright future.
Yeah, one of the things that I love about this particular summit, the Utah Valley Growth and Prosperity Summit, is it really is the Utah model at its best. It's bringing together all the different players from business, community, education, government to really look at those issues. You understand the power of convening very few people in this state. As you wander around and interact with folks here at the summit this year, what is it? What's driving some of those conversations? What are the big ticket ideas we should be thinking about?
Well, there's a lot of things that are kind of been in the news, and affordable housing probably is at the top of the list. What do we do to have affordable housing? And government does have a role because local cities and counties have zoning ordinances that will decide whether you can have higher density or lower density and what you can build and how you build it. So that's a big local government control issue that needs to be talked about and discussed. I talked to a fellow who's running for Provo City Council. I talked about you need to have the government work with the developers and with the community at large, decide what can we do and how should we do it so we don't have a diminution of quality of life or aesthetics.
Right.
And so that's just one aspect of it. But the environment, the water we've always said is the only limiting factor to growth in Utah is water.
Yeah.
And so we still have to learn how to conserve. There's discussions about how do we take care of the Great Salt Lake, which is up downstream from us here in Utah County, and that's a big deal. It's kind of the issue of the day when it comes to water. How do we protect the Great Salt Lake, and that also is tied in with Utah Lake. How do we, in fact, can we improve the usability of Utah Lake? It used to be a great recreational body of water, not used so much anymore. People are going to other places, and probably with some strategic care. We could maybe open up opportunities there and do that in conjunction with working with the Great Salt Lake and their needs for more water.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a futuristic thing that we'll be working on over the next couple of years. The environment, congestion on the roads, energy. We're going to go to electric cars. I saw where some of the makers of electric cars came out last week or a week and a half ago and said, we're not sure the model's going to work. All these electric cars get into the grid. And all of a sudden, we got brownouts in California.
Exactly.
And so everybody gets on electric. Are we producing enough energy for us to do the heating, air conditioning, and all the other things that power does, and power electric cars?
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to learn as we go, and there's probably an evolution to this. But it's a challenging thing that we have mentioned for many years, and now we see, boy, it's really going to happen.
Yeah, the rubber really hits the road right here. And just about a minute left, Gov. Give us one thing. We always talk about bumpability at events like this. You bump into people, you have those hallway conversations that are going on. Give us one bumpability idea that we should be thinking about today.
Oh, my gosh, that's a tough one. I think the fact of the matter is that when we talk about who we want to have elected, we need to make sure that they're thinking long-term and not just short-term. Politicians, as you know as well as anybody, Boyd, think short-term.
Yeah.
How do I get reelected?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that maybe means we have some long-term decisions that are either we kick the can down the road, think the national debt, think entitlement reform on the federal level. Well, same thing is true here. We've got to think in terms of long-term, not just the short-term. And whether that's the mayors, the city council, the county commissioners, our state legislators, the governor. Again, let's think long-term, not short-term.
Yeah, so important and such a big piece of that puzzle. We're going to call you the Dean of Utah Valley. Former Governor Gary Herbert, thanks so much for stopping by as part of the Utah Valley Growth and Prosperity Summit. We're broadcasting live here from Utah Valley University throughout the afternoon today. And Gov, also want to just give a shout-out to your institute here, the Gary R. Herbert Institute for Public Policy, where just some amazing conversations have been being had, and we look forward to having some more of those down the road.
Well, thank you, Boyd. And we've got some invitations out, some really big names, and so we hope that they'll accommodate people that we know. And the university here is just fantastic. I mean, it's blossoming.
It is.
And so Utah Valley University, 44,600 students
amazing.
now, is just hard for me to even comprehend. Growing up in the shadows of the trade tech, And so it's an amazing institution. President Dominus, I know you'll have her on later on. It's a great president. So a lot of good things happen in Utah Valley.
Yep.
But what's good for Utah Valley is good for the state, and
That's
vice
right.
versa. We're all on the same team.
All interconnected.
So don't forget that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Former Governor Gary Herbert.